welcome to this edition of Wealth Without Borders podcast. And today I'm delighted to have with me Betty Liu. Hello, Betty.
Hi, Howard.
And I always ask this, Betty, where are you today and what is the weather like?
Well, today I'm actually with you here in the same city in Shanghai. And so the weather is, thank God, it's really like we can see the sunshine out there. So I think it's good because we have a couple of days raining heavily.
Yeah, this is rainy season. So for those of you who don't know Betty, she's an applied linguist, an anthropologist, and a cross-cultural consultant. And Betty helps people to achieve better communication and collaboration, given the challenges brought about by language, culture, and communication differences. And the title of today's podcast is The Communication Challenges of Working with Chinese Nationals. So welcome to the show, Betty.
Thanks for having me.
And as you know, it's 8 questions in 8 minutes. I'm super strict about it. So when we get to 8 minutes, I stop the podcast. So are you ready to rock?
Let's give it a go.
Okay, fantastic. 8 minutes to go. Question number 1. Who is your ideal client?
So my ideal clients actually categorized in their language background. So helping the native Chinese language speaker and also the English language speaker doesn't have to be a native English language speaker, but does have to be able to speak English to communicate and understand each other more effectively in cross-cultural activities.
Okay, fantastic. 7 minutes 30 to go. Question number 2. What is the problem that you solve?
Well, in the long story, short version, that will be helping the people to diagnosis and managing their challenges of communication, language, and the cultures in their cross-cultural activities. But I will provide a very brief explanation about what do I mean. So for the language issue, I refers to, for example, the language translation errors and efficiencies, or the efficiency of the second language speakers when they have to communicate with a native language speaker in their second language. And what the culture means is more abstract, but that could refer to when we talk about the same English word, but we have very different image in mind. For example, we're talking about British food, right? You're from Britain. So what the British food come in your mind and what a British food come into Chinese national mind might be very different concept. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about the same word, even we speak English, we might come out very different understanding that can be challenging for effective cross-cultural communication. Okay. And the last communication errors is actually, as you said earlier, it's a kind of human challenging we're all facing, regardless where you're coming from. So people have to identify the 3 category of challenges in their cross-cultural activities, and so to come up with effective solution to tackle with each of them and all of them effectively. Okay,
great. 5 minutes, 55 remaining. Question number 3. What are the typical symptoms people experience who have that problem?
Well, actually, I don't think there is a typical symptom. There are many, as case by case. But generally speaking, if in the cross-cultural activities that the one side feel the other side just impossible to understand, or you just have no idea how to explain the other side behavior, and usually there is a cross-cultural problem involved. So I think this probably still happens a lot in a lot of cross-cultural workplace or business contexts that between the Chinese nationals and people from outside of China.
Okay, great. 5 minutes, 12 remaining. Question number 4. What are the common mistakes people make when they're trying to solve the problems?
Here I will borrow a kind of psychological term like they call attribution errors and also attribution ambiguity. The attribution errors means that people like to blend everything, like put the failure of their cross-cultural interactions or on culture, even though culture does play a certain kind of role in the cross-cultural activities, but not every failure is because of the culture. There's a lot of other reasons involved. As I mentioned earlier, like language, like communication, and also sometimes it's like, business reason or personal reasons that can all cause a failure of cross-cultural activities. So sometimes people have to understand which is which, so you can provide solution. And also the attribution, like ambiguity, is even under the term culture. I mean, it is a kind of very big term, and there's a lot of connotation of the under the umbrella, of the culture. So people does have to identify what is exactly the culture factor we're talking about. Are we talking about perception? Are we talking about value? And also what is exactly activity and context we're talking about? So we're able to solve that. And without clarification, that is a lot of ambiguity, and people cannot do anything to solve their problem effectively.
Okay, great. It is complex. I know. I live in China. So just 3 minutes 30 left. Question number 5. What's one valuable free action that the audience today can implement that's going to help them solve some of that problem, not all of it?
Well, first of all, I was saying people can go to my LinkedIn because I have put some podcasts on this topics. Second of all, I will introduce people to try to use language dictionary more often, not only say English to Chinese, but also English to English and Chinese to Chinese. Then you'll realize the very rich and complex knowledge behind the language, and you will become more understandable and also patient when you communicate with the second language speakers.
Okay, great. Patience isn't needed in this podcast. 2 minutes 45 remaining. Question number 6. What's one valuable free resource apart from your LinkedIn that you can direct people to that will further help them with that problem?
Well, I think that would be just go out to the office and go out the business meetings, because that's where you will be able to have a more holistic, objective views or balanced views about the culture, and that it will really helps you to strengthen your relationship, especially with your business partner and also co-workers.
Okay, great.
From another culture background, yes.
Okay, 2 minutes remaining. Question number 7. What concept, book, program, or talk has been most impactful in your experience, Betty?
Well, actually, I think there's a lot, but I would jump out the box today. Probably give one recommendation about movie. I will introduce a movie which is a U.S. fiction movie, which is it's a 2016. The movie that's called Arrival, and it tells a story about how a linguistic decode about the language of alien and stopped an international war. I think that it will help people to understand how linguistic work and how complex the language translation actually is, and also why there are so many errors in our daily life. So I think it's quite educational and inspirational.
Excellent. And just over 1 minute remaining. Question number 8. What's the one question I should have asked you that will give great value to our audience?
I think that's more specifically like when is a great time people should reach to me and ask for my assistance or consultant.
Okay.
So yeah, should I answer that then continually?
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Betty, for that contribution. I know how difficult cultural differences are, certainly between Chinese and Westerners, and you're doing a great job in helping people bridge that gap.
Thank you very much, Howard. And I think, as you said earlier, it's more about patience. And I think curiosity does play a very important part in this. And I do hope that people will have a lot of chance to really interact with each other. And in the end of the day, I would say culture have influence, but people are people. So on that, I think that we're always going to find a way to connect with each other as long as we have the goodwill, determination, and patience.
Exactly. Thank you, Betty.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Many thanks for checking out Wealth Without Borders podcast. I'd love you to head over to iTunes, subscribe, and leave us a review. And if you'd be kind enough to do that, I would really appreciate it. And then if you want to know more about what I do, check out wealthwithoutborders.net.